What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today on AW Fishing, we are filming a tip video at the house and we are diving into the world of strolling. So before we get into all the details and all that type of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys kind of, geez, there's a dog over there. It's just like been barking for a while now. It seems like whenever I try to talk, it just starts barking. Anyways, I'm going to kind of dive into what exactly this thing is. So basically, to get the general information about what this bait is, it is basically just a ball head, kind of just a standard ball head that you would fish like a swim bait on, but you put either like a pintail, a straight tail, or just some type of minnow style bait on it, any type of fluke style bait, something like that you would put on there. So that's basically what the Jighead minnow is. Also, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the knot that I fish with it. Basically, with the Jighead minnow, you are trying to get the bait to rock side to side. It's kind of, instead of doing like a little wag and a body roll with like a swim bait would, like a Kitech, basically what it's going to do is, instead of doing that, it's just going to roll. Basically, it's rolling like that, and the tail is kind of shimmying, and it's kind of like a subtler swim bait. Anyways, so that's what it is. So it can be kind of hard to get that action with just a standard, like a Palomar or a clinch knot, something like that. But with all of my other, really almost all of my other like techniques, I'm just tying a standard Palomar knot because that's just the strongest knot that I found. But with a minnow, I'm going to tie a loop knot. That's just going to allow me to get that bait to roll more and just give it more action. But anyways, that is kind of just what strolling is. It's kind of what the bait is. But yeah, so I'm about to kind of dive into everything, like a common myth that I hear a lot of people think, and kind of all the setups, the exact baits for everything, and just kind of just stuff like that. So I'm gonna put this rod down right here and let me get into the deep dive of the world of the Jighead minnow strolling. So the Jighead minnow, strolling, the Mickey rig, Jighead minnow, whatever you want to call it, has just completely taken over the world of bass fishing. This is a bait that's here to stay, whether you like it or not. And there's a few misconceptions about it, that you had to have forward-facing sonar for it, all that type of stuff. But just completely, let's just take that out of the window. I'm going to kind of dive into really, I fished this bait for a little bit over a year now. I was kind of late on the train, but yeah, I'm gonna kind of dive into this bait today, all I've learned from fishing this bait for a little bit over a year now, and kind of just what I like to do when fishing this bait. So anyways, to start off, I'm going to kind of get into a little myth that I think a lot of people believe about the minnow. And basically, this bait is super duper tied to forward-facing sonar, mainly because forward-facing sonar is just a way that, I mean, whether you like it or not, it's something that's here to stay. People feel like, people like it and people don't like it. There's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that really like it, use it on a day-to-day basis. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I use forward-facing sonar because it's just something that allows me to learn about bass behavior, allows me to catch more fish at times. But anyways, I'm going to stop talking about forward-facing sonar and get into this myth. But basically, the myth is that people think that if you don't have forward-facing sonar or live scope, that you cannot fish this bait, which is completely false. I caught my personal best smallmouth over at Wheeler Lake it was a moose minnow on a Jighead minnow like this, like completely strolling it blind. I mean, I was fishing this bait just at like the mouth of the creek, cast it out there, just let it hit bottom, popped it up off the bottom, just started shaking it, and then sure enough, it loaded up, and completely blind, had no idea, I mean, that I was gonna catch fish like that without forward-facing sonar. But anyways, back to the topic. I've caught countless amount of fish fishing a Jighead minnow without looking at scope. So don't think that just because you don't have fancy electronics that you can't fish this bait. You can catch fish from ponds on a Jighead minnow like this, like just completely just from the bank, just throw it out there, let it hit bottom, hop it off, and just start strolling. I mean, that is definitely a way that you can catch fish in pressured ponds when they probably have not seen something like this. But anyways, that's it for the myth. And I'm gonna kind of get into just the baits, my favorite baits that I use, and when I'm gonna use each bait. But yeah, anyways, so if I can only have one bait, like if I could only have one bait, if I was starting out Jighead minnow, I don't know what to pick up, then I would pick up this bait. But to any of you that are watching this video that have never done this before, and are looking for just kind of one starter bait to fish, that is going to be this bait right here. This is a Rapala Crush City freeloader in the 4 1/4 inch size. This bait is it's an amazing little strolling bait. Caught a whole bunch of fish on it. This guy here is 4 1/4 inches, so it's kind of like that mid-size, not too big, not too small, and it's caught a lot of fish for me and my brother over the years. My brother Weston caught a 4.5 pounder on Gunnersville like a couple months back on this bait right here. It's just a great little strolling bait. This color's Tennesse Shad. I really like this for murkier water. I'll link my colors down below too. I'll link everything that I talk about today down below in the video description. All of our videos that we post on the channel, we leave links in the video description for our tackle and what we're using. So we started doing that a couple weeks back. But yeah, so if you're wondering like what all we're talking about, you don't want to have to memorize it or remember what we're talking about, just hit the 3 line. I kind of forgot how to get to it, but if you just look, you'll be able to find the video description and you can find everything we talked about. But yeah, freeloader, amazing bait. If I'm just going to start out strolling and I can only have one bait, that's the bait I'm choosing. Now we're going to move into kind of our smaller, more finessier baits. These baits right here are baits that I'm going to throw if the bite is just not good. It's just grindy, you know, I can't really get bit on anything else. I've already tried my bigger minnows and I just need to get bit. These are going to be the baits for you. I got 2 for you here in this category. One is going to be the little 3.5 inch mooch minnow. 3.5 inch mooch minnow I've probably caught more fish on this bait than any other strolling bait out there on the market. It is a 3.5 inch bait, so it's really small, finesse, and it's actually, the mooch minnows are kind of that Elastec type material. They're real stretchy, so they're going to last a long time, and that bait is just amazing. This bait here, it's kind of like, again, if I'm not getting bit, then this is a bait that I'm going to throw. I actually caught my PB smallmouth on this bait, like I said earlier. Weston also caught his PB smallmouth on this bait too. But this bait, it's just a fish catcher, and it also catches giants. Alrighty. I think I've probably caught, me and Weston combined have probably caught more 4+ pounders this year on this bait. Actually, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but multiple 4+ pounders on this bait this year. And both caught a PB smallmouth on it this year. But anyways, next bait is the Depths Sakamata Shad. This is the 4-inch guy. So the Sakamata Shad, you have to be basically living under a rock to not have heard of this bait. This is the most sought after bait in bass fishing. Super duper hard to find and super expensive, not very durable, but they are just straight fish catchers. So this is a bait that really hard to find. If I'm just starting out, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy a mooch minnow because I feel like these baits catch them almost just as good as these socks. But these socks, what's different about them is they have more of an exaggerated roll. So these are kind of like, if you know, they have more of a roll to them, they're more aggressive than the mooch minnow, I'd say. So these I really like for cold water, like colder water. And oh, sorry, phone fell. Anyways, and these baits kind of for warmer water, really good on like spotted bass lakes or smallmouth lakes, like in warmer water where they're still want a small bait, but they want that thing aggressive. But those are 2 baits, Sakamata Shad and the mooch minnow. I'll link the stuff down below, of course. And now we're gonna get into the big guys. These are baits that I'm gonna fish a big minnow when, sorry, got something driving by. Anyways, you might ask, why would you fish a big minnow? Because it's a, you know, more of a finesse technique, something that, you know, just kind of think of when you would throw like a big swim bait. Like when you throw a glide bait or a big soft bait, something like that, you want to draw fish off of stuff. You want to have a lot of drawing power. The reason I'm going to throw a big minnow is for, you know, just drawing power. Drawing power can be really important if your fish are really tight to the bottom, really tight to cover, and you need to draw them off, or also if you're just trying to get a big bite. So basically just kind of think of when you throw a glide bait. These baits can be intimidating at times, but they sure do catch them, and they catch giants too. But basically, first bait that I'm going to talk about is the depth Sakamata shad. Another Sakamata shad here. This is in the 7-inch. Again, this bait here, it's super hard to find. This color is silver shad. I have a few packs of these. It's a big minnow. I mean, it's a big bait if you can't tell. Really big bait, 7 inches long. And Sakamata shads have these little wings on them, which kind of just, they help these baits roll. They kind of get that side to side rolling action when you are twitching that rod tip. But yeah, the Sakamata shad, 7-inch, super hard to find, but they are just straight fish catchers, and they catch giants too. The next bait here, it's really new, kind of like that 4.5-inch mooch minnow. And I've already talked about the freeload. Let me get this bait back in here. There we go. I've already talked about the freeloader just now, the 4.25-inch one. They just came out with 2 new sizes. They came out with a 5.25 and a 6.25. I haven't got much into the 5.25 yet, but we did catch one of our bigger fish in our last tournament on this guy, the 6.25-inch Crush City freeloader. Also, in the winter, just because it's cold, don't think you can't throw a bigger bait. In the winter, a lot of times, that's when I'm going to either downsize or upsize, fish the extremes. Because, again, if they're on bigger bait fish like this, or when you want something that has more drawing power, then that's when I'm going to throw a bigger minnow. There are days where they just don't really want much to do with the small one, and they'll come up and just destroy a big 6 or 7-inch minnow. But 6.25-inch raffle freeloader. If you can't tell, I like that Tennessee shad color. But this is one of my favorite colors, especially for a little bit murkier water. It has like a brown back, and it kind of has like a purple tint to it with like some white and silver flakes in it. But that's a 6.25-inch freeloader. A lot more long than the 4.25. And the 5.25 I have it laying back here. Let me get this guy out for you. It's kind of like that in between, like that. It's kind of in between that mid size and that bigger size. I caught one fish on this guy in the tournament. I just caught a little spotted bass on it. But anyways, I think I like the 6.25 size a little bit better, personally. They're both really good, but I'm still kind of learning about these baits a little bit more. Haven't fished them much, but all I know is this guy's gonna be special. The 6.25. I can't wait for fishing this thing on the ledges out on Guntersville this summer. That's gonna be fun. But anyways, if you can get your hands on those Sakamata shads, 7-inch ones, or the 6.25 freeloader, those are 2 exceptional, bigger, beefier minnows. See, got a dog barking over there. Anyways, put this bait back in the package. And now that I've talked about like the baits themselves, when to throw them, that type of stuff, I'm going to talk about my setup for throwing these baits. Anyways, so, geez, that dog is going crazy. But anyways, I'm going to go over the rod that I'm going to use, kind of my smaller to mid-sized minnows on. This is going to be my all-purpose minnow rod. I throw everything from my little small minnows on it up to kind of like usually like a 4.25 freeloader. So small to mid-sized minnows go on this rod. This is a Halo KS2 Elite 610 medium. This rod here, you think 610 medium, you know, you're like, oh, it's kind of like a regular spinning rod. You can throw a minnow on any standard medium or medium light spinning rod, but I really like having more of a, just a little bit different action. So I'm gonna want a rod that has like a super soft tip. Like if you see this, the tip is just paper thin, super soft, just loads under no pressure. But then, if you can't tell right there, then it gets to backbone super fast. So super fast to go to backbone really, really fast. That is really, really important when throwing a minnow. Or in other words, this is a solid tip. So a solid tip rod is basically, there's this whole tip section right here. It's just solid. There's nothing in between it. And that is super paper thin. And that's just gonna allow that blank to bend really, really easily. And then it's just gonna get to backbone really fast here. But the tip section here is just completely solid. It's so paper thin, it's crazy. It looks like it would snap, but I've used this rod for over a year now, or not over, almost a year now. And yeah, this thing has just, I mean, it's just blown me away how good of a minnow rod this is. And for anything like a little small moose minnow like this, up to like even this probably would be a good rod for the 5 1/4 feeler too. But 3 to 5 inch minnows, from anything from like 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce head, I'm throwing on this guy right here. Anyways, oh yeah, let me talk about the reel that I have on this rod. This is a Shimano Noski 2500 here. This reel is just a little bit above $100, I think. Super great reel for the price. This rod here is about $170. I'll also link a higher end setup that I've used before. That is great. It's Shimano X Pride. I don't have one, but I've used it, and I mean, it's just amazing. Shimano X Pride is a great rod for strolling. It is like, it's about 300. It's a little bit above $300, but it is worth it. I mean, it's just such a great rod. I'm thinking about getting one here maybe next year or something like that for to just kind of be like more of a higher end minnow rod. But yeah, that's a great high end option. Shimano Vanford is a reel that I would put on that. It's just super light, super easy to turn the handle. It's just great. But yeah, that's a higher end combo. This is kind of just my favorite minnow combo ever. But yeah, that is the setup for those 3 to 5 inch minnows. I got one more for you that I throw my 6 and 7 inch minnows on, and that one is going to be the Daiwa Tatula XT 7-foot medium. Basically, this is just kind of like a standard 7-foot medium spinning rod. It's not a solid tip, but I do think that for these bigger minnows, it's not quite as important to have a solid tip rod, because it's just a bigger bait. You know, I'm not gonna want a super duper soft tip for throwing a bigger bait like this. It's not quite as important. Like you can see when I'm bending this rod, it kind of just looks more like a standard medium spinning rod. It has a lot stronger tip than the Halo that I just talked about. But this is a $100 rod, really affordable rod, really versatile too. So I don't just throw big minnows on this thing. I throw, you know, wacky worms, drop shots, anything like that on this rod. But this is actually my brother's rod, but I used it a lot for bigger minnows, and I just kind of want to talk about it. The reel that I have on here is a Daiwa Exceller 2500. Ooh, that wind is cold. Anyways, Daiwa Exceller 2500 size. Great $100 reel. This is just a super affordable combo. So yeah, I will also link a higher end, bigger minnow rod, which again, it's another X Pride, but it's the 610 medium heavy. So it's just a little bit stiffer. Dude, this dog stop. I mean, my goodness, dog's going crazy. But it's also a Shimano X Pride. It's the 610 medium heavy. This thing just does not like me talking. But anyways, 610 medium heavy Shimano X Pride is what I would like for my bigger minnows if I'm wanting something more high end. And the 610 medium is kind of like a smaller minnow rod, but more of a high end. Anyways, but I'm gonna put this up and talk about kind of like my line and leader size for both my small and big minnows. Let me put this down here. Line, my favorite line, I've been experimenting with a few different braids for my spinning rods. My favorite for this is just standard Power Pro. This is Power Pro 10 pound in the yellow. I just really like Power Pro. It feels like it just casts the farthest on a spinning reel, and it lasts the longest. It's just great braid, and it's also like not expensive at all compared to other braids. Just a super great, affordable budget line for my spinning reels that I just really enjoy. It's a pleasure to fish with. Leader though, me personally, I don't buy like specific leader line. I know it's really, really good, really, really high quality stuff, but it's not really in my budget. I don't feel like going out of the way to get line specific for leaders. I really just used main fluorocarbon line. But here's what I found that is the best for me. This is a high-end line here. I use this line for this is just a great finesse fishing fluorocarbon. This is Samurai. This is Daiwa Samurai FC hidden. So it's kind of a lot, but I just call it Daiwa hidden fluorocarbon. But this is the 8-pound. I use this 8-pound here. I use it for just my smaller minnows. You know, when I'm wanting something really subtle, that's in clear water, something like that, or like with a smaller diameter hook, then that is going to be the line that I use. It's super, super clear in the water. It's just invisible, and as the name states, but just a great leader line for those smaller minnows. I also throw this on my bait finesse reels too. I actually throw the 7-pound on my bait finesse, but great little leader line. And the one that I use on my bigger minnows is just standard Sunline Sniper. This is 12-pound. Again, 95% of the time, I'm going to throw 10 or 12-pound FC Sniper for my bigger minnows. But let me get into just jigheads now. Jigheads, there are really 2 main jigheads that I've found. I've fished with a bunch of them, but there are 2 that are kind of my favorite. Well, the first one, this is the one that I use probably 80% of the time, is let me get one out of here. The Kitech ball. This is the Kitech super round ball head. It's tungsten. I throw this thing just really, I'd say probably 80% of the time. The only reason I would pick up something else is because for fishing something that's either like I need to get down really far, like a heavier jighead, because they only come up to 1/4 ounce is the heaviest they make it, and 3/0 is the biggest hook size that they make. So if I'm going to be throwing something that I need to get down farther, then I'm not going to use this jighead. Or if I'm going to throw something on like a bigger minnow, then I'm not going to use this jighead. But 80% of the time for my small and my mid-sized minnows, that's what I'm going to throw. I'll link good head sizes for all the baits that I talked about and my favorite jigheads for them down in the description as well. But yeah, now I'm going to talk about the second jighead, which is the Picasso tungsten ball head, just a standard one. This is the 1/4 ounce 4/0 here. This is my favorite one for the big minnows, for the big Sakamata shads or the freeloaders. I have one rigged up on my 6 1/4 freeloader here, but that's that head there. 4/0, 1/4 ounce. That is the Picasso right there. It has a heavier wire hook, so that's again why I'm going to throw that on 12-pound test instead of something like 8. But yeah, that's the Picasso. And then also, if I'm fishing really deep and I want like a heavier head, that's a 3/8 ounce 2/0 right there. That's what I throw if I'm fishing like 30 feet or deeper. So anyways, that's gonna do it for the head sizes. And I think that may do it for the video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll link all the stuff that I talked about today below. It was a long one, so if you're still watching right now, thank you so much. Anyways, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed. Leave a comment about any questions you have, or if you like these style of videos and I should do them more often. Or if not, then tell me too. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time on A&W Fishing.